I used to get absolutely baked before going into the gym when I started this journey. I'd sit back there, all my fancy lights on, my music, just getting ready to go in and slay demons. I was really fortunate that on the first day, right before the first day of this whole fitness self-development journey started, I found some tough love influencers, and they were, go hard every single day, never, 7 days a week, you work out, you push through all the pain, you just keep going. I didn't know any better. I just did what they said 7 days a week. I was in that gym 3 to 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, until I'd given myself tendonitis in both elbows and both knees, and really just took it too far. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, we're talking from, they say 12 working sets is optimal. I was doing 30. Getting on the elliptical for 45 minutes to an hour, just going as hard as I could, just sweat, tears coming out of my eyes were closed for 10 minutes, I was in a bad place, and I was in there doing work. But I was so fortunate that I had that seed planted in my mind right before the first day, because previously, in my old life, several years back, before the injury and all the things that really got me out of the gym, I was never great at it. It was always a negotiation, right? Oh, I don't have time. I've been working all day. I left my headphones at home. I don't want to go in there. The guys are out drinking, having a good time. I don't want to miss out. So going to the gym was something I had to do. It wasn't a privilege, a thing that I was fortunate to get to do. Now, the thing that I want to talk to you about is that negotiation and how we just eliminate that altogether. And this goes far beyond the gym. This goes into, getting rid of vices. This gets into pursuing your purpose and working on something, moving towards the direction that you really are supposed to be doing with your life, that thing that you feel, that that you've got to figure out and make happen. And at the foundation for all of this is one of those early seeds I was so lucky to come into, was that habits are everything. Habits are the foundation for fitness and everything else. Fitness is the foundation for everything else, but you can't have good fitness without good habits. How you do anything is how you do everything. And, I was just thinking about this. Really, this has become such a normal thing. There's never a day where I wake up at 3:30. Before now, I'm stoked to start the day and go work out in the morning and pursue my purpose and do all these hard, uncomfortable things. It's something that, because of that whole concept of habits and consistency early on, that I realized there's no negotiation. There's never a moment when it's like, I don't really want to get up and work out today. And on that rare occasion, when I really, truly don't feel like going, I'm tired, I don't have the right macros in me, those are the times that are the absolute most important. Those are the times I know that one day out of several months that I don't want to go, is the time that is the most important and most valuable. And that's the time that I just go in and do work. And that's the time, every time, that this isn't about the optimal training to get the most muscle mass or the most strength. At this point in our lives, this is about something that we're building inside of ourselves internally that applies to everything else in life, everything that we're going to do, every challenge that we encounter, everything that we want to make happen. And it is that we're going to develop the habits. And at first it is very hard. It is very uncomfortable when we're making habits. Those habits, they become a lifestyle sometime within the first, 3 months to a year. And over time, the lifestyle becomes an identity. And that's when, there has never been a time when I wasn't going to go work out. But there were times a lot earlier on when I didn't want to. And it wasn't until, honestly, after 4 years into this, I'm about 4.5 years in, I think closing in on 1,700 days since the day I stepped into the gym. So closing in on 960, just a little under that without alcohol. So I was lucky that because those seeds, I didn't actually ever have that negotiation, but legs day. I always hated legs day. It was miserable. I always pushed it. I always went to, I always go until I'm sore. But something happened, as this became my identity, as I switched back over to morning workouts, as I started doing legs day on Monday morning, and I realized, wow, I really set myself up in an amazing way for the entire week, and I just started leaning into it and taking pride in it. And now that's one of the things I am the most proud of in my identity, and I don't have that feeling of, oh man, here we go, I'm about to go be miserable, like I used to have at the beginning when I would sit back there and just get myself baked as hell before I went in and wrecked myself. Now I'm just like, this is what we do. This is what we do. What I tell myself every time, I'm going to push that legs workout, the press, whatever version of press I'm doing that day. A lot of times it's goblet squats with 75-pound dumbbells, which now they're turning into like sets of 25 and more. It's the heaviest weight they have at Planet Fitness, and that's my main gym. I travel a lot. I get on the leg press, and I'm not going for excessive weight. I've had over 30 breaks in my life, knee surgery. I've modified the shape of my kneecap through a snowboarding crash. I've ankle blown out, broken in 7 places. I'm not in there to push the max weight, but I am, however, in there to still do progressive overload through more reps, through, if I need to slowing down the reps, to making sure it's an absolute full range of motion, ass to grass, man. I go as low as I can. I go all the way down with goblet squats. When I'm on the leg press, I set it at the lowest setting, and then I do a warm up, and until it's really burning. That would really count as a set, and I do 3 sets beyond that: 180, 200, 220 on the leg press machine I'm at. Never under 20 reps, but as I keep going, I keep adding more reps, and then you start getting a little higher weight, and more reps and higher weight. And that's only part of my legs day. It's honestly, I only do 9 real hard working sets, but I go to the point where my legs, it's not good for me to push them any farther, especially with my knees and my ankles and everything. I have to train right as a man in his mid-40s with a whole slew of injuries. But the point I'm trying to make is that over time, these things become such a non-negotiable habit. Just like going to the bathroom when you wake up. It's just part of life, brushing your teeth before you go to work. That's part of life. And this is one of those things where it's just what it is. This is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we do. That was the thing that I used to say to myself over and over and over again. And until I didn't need that mantra anymore, that's all I did, was I just said that over and over. So this also applies to every other habit that we're going to stack that turns into a lifestyle and then part of our identity. Nutrition has become a huge thing. I've really gotten this thing dialed on a level that I'm sure, if I talk to a nutritionist and a trainer, they're going to be like, dude, you're killing it. Now, I'm still going to learn more. They're still going to give me some pointers. I'm still going to progress, but I've got this thing on nutrition figured out. And all of this stuff, early wake ups, the workouts, the macros, everything that I do is something that at one point was uncomfortable. And then you set yourself on that goal. This is the habit. This is going to become a lifestyle. This will be part of my identity. And not drinking. Man, that is a proud part of my identity. Not only that, it's become my purpose. I'm here to help you guys understand the things that I've figured out while I share the things that I'm still working with, fighting with, learning and growing along the way. I think it would have been so valuable to me if I had found somebody that was at my level who had elevated but was still mid-journey, right? Who hadn't arrived yet. Not one of these guys that stands up there and just instructs you and tells you what to do and how you have to do it, but can share their journey and can show kind of where the shortcomings and progress are, because this is a commitment that you and I are going to continue this journey together. You're going to start building from whatever point you're at, or maybe, I still look at some other influencers who, have elevated, maybe beyond me or where I'm at, and a lot of times there isn't anything new that I'm learning from them, but just keeping that mindset, the lessons that they're teaching front and center in my mind, making sure that if there's something on my computer that I'm consuming content, that it somehow reinforces or develops me in some way, reinforces these lessons that I've learned or helps develop things where I'm still kind of growing and developing, figuring things out. So yes, alcohol, that was a hard one. That was a hard one. I was over a liter of vodka a day for 3 or 4 years towards the end of the journey, just escaping a life that was never right for me, but I was so heavily conditioned and indoctrinated into. I was always trying to find ways to get out of it, launching my first business. 9 years of my life put into something where, I lost all my money and my credit and my identity along with it, and, ended up out in that ski town for 7 years. Just, hey, my credit was trash. If I was going to have to sell my life to somebody else one paycheck at a time, I might as well do it in a cool place and have a fun lifestyle. But man, let me tell you, ski town life, the only things you do whatever you can to survive so that you can shred as much as possible, and then you're just getting tanked. Learning to edit my words. So you're getting drunk and high and intoxicated all the time, stuffing your face with unhealthy food, and it's amazing. I'm so lucky that I lived an extremely active life while I was just poisoning myself the whole time, eating terribly, drinking like crazy, because at the end of that, I was still 60 pounds heavier than I am now, with a lot less muscle. But if I didn't live that super active lifestyle, man, I wouldn't have been like 210 to 220 at the end of this thing. I would have been like 350 living that kind of life if it was just sedentary. But man, imagine if I had these good habits and I was living that life. Imagine if I ate right and I didn't drink. I would have been shredded. I would have been way more ripped than I am now. And I've learned, I've dieted hard. I've overdone this stuff. So this message wasn't supposed to be about me. I'm trying to convey something that is extremely valuable. If you've hung out this long, I'm going to keep beating this drum over and over and over again, that fitness is the foundation for everything. Habits are the foundation, and for fitness and everything else as well. How you do anything is how you do everything. And even though starting these habits is uncomfortable, you commit to yourself at the beginning that I'm not going to miss, that I'm going to do this. No matter how bad I don't want to, no matter how uncomfortable it is, that over time, it becomes easier and easier until it just becomes a normal part of your day. Now, I never surround myself in environments full of gluttony, but I could easily be around people taking shots and partying and whatnot, and I wouldn't be tempted. Even early on in this, when I still hadn't actually said that I'm done forever. It was a 6-month commitment at first. I'd made it 30 days once. I said I'm going to do this for 6 months. I'm going to lean into this discipline. I'm going to do something uncomfortable. And I was thinking, hey, maybe I can still have this old version of myself, this old lifestyle, the guy whose identity is, interacting with people in drinking environments, and envisions being on a beautiful beach with a Corona or something. But then, at 90 days, I said, this is the first time in 26 years I've gone 90 days without alcohol. I made a 6-month commitment to myself, but I want to keep it going. So I'm 90 days in, but I'm committing to a year right now. And then in a year, I said I was done forever. And it was still uncomfortable at that year. But now, 2.5 years, closing in on my 1,000 days, this is it. This is it. I'm never drinking another day in my life. That thing was, I'm not even going to brag on the difference in the progress. You guys are along for the journey. You can check out the Adventure Channel sometime. There's a lot to this story. But it all starts with habits and that commitment to yourself that, whatever demons you got to slay, you're going to slay them. For me, I had to take this to a really unhealthy, uncomfortable, ridiculous level. And I'm not recommending you do that. If you do something like that crazy diet that I did, I really kept myself in a state of starvation and malnourishment for 18 months. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just was going so hard. And it was miserable. That was even harder than the quitting drinking by the time I really pushed that thing to the level I took it to. And I did it so bad that it was extremely unhealthy. It killed my white blood cell count. I was catabolic. I was getting pains all over my body. My gut bacteria was messed up. It was bad. But something really good came out of that, because, man, after that diet, I was like, dude, I can do freaking anything. Let's go. Let's freaking go. And I had to wreck myself in all these different ways. And then now it's like, eating the proper macros feels like I'm, like what it used to feel like to go out and stuff my face with pizza, burritos, and just crap food. I never waste a penny on fast food. In emergencies or on special occasions, I'll get a Chipotle burrito bowl, which is just meat, rice, beans, and veggies. Fits within my macros, not going incongruent. But I'm also spending $10 when I could have prepared a good, healthy meal for $4. That's all. Like, right now, I'm on this mission. I don't want to give up valuable hours of my life to pay for things that don't move me towards the mission, towards the goal, towards making the difference that I'm going to make in this world, creating financial freedom and the vision I have for myself along the way. So I'm not going to go eat out. I'm going to keep wearing clothes until they fall apart. I'm going to, I'm going to hang on to my iPhone 11. I got a new screen protector in there. You can see it's busted. I'll put that on today. But, I got this thing during COVID. It's 2026. I only have usually a gig or two open space, so I can't really use that for content. I got plenty of other ways. I'm not going to spend money I don't need to. So when I do have equipment that I need, when there are times I need to invest in traveling and content and things that do move the mission forward, I'm not doing it on credit with interest. So somebody else owns a portion of my future, and they've created numbers out of thin air to own even more of my life. I'm going to keep living beneath my means as I keep building, keep putting in the reps, creating these videos, just like learning to put in the reps in the gym consistently, just like putting in the reps, eating right, and not eating wrong, not drinking. So, thanks for riding with me. Start with those habits, make that commitment to yourself. Don't miss whatever you commit to. And just to clarify something, I've said many times, I get up 7 days a week early and work out. And I can only do 4 days of strength training right now as I'm working through some elbow issues. But other days, I'm still in there doing extra, I do mobility 5 to 6 days a week. I'd been doing some yoga. It just didn't fit into the schedule with that place, so I'm going to have to find another place to do the yoga. I still get in steps. I ride my bike. I'm active. I get up early. I eat right. So even though my body, I'm not using any sort of peptides, any sort of TRT, performance-enhancing drugs, I'm in my mid-40s. I'm pushing my body. I've also learned that there are limits, that no matter how hard you get mentally, that it gets counterproductive when you overdo it. So, finding the right way to train wisely. I'm still getting up early and working out one way or another, even if the strength training is only 4 to 5 days a week. If I, decide to get a little interesting and find a way to work in an extra day without beating up the parts of my body that are recovering. So, I love you. Thanks for riding along. Catch you tomorrow.